Sounds hard. Let's put buttons in there for it. Right. We'll put a button with a class of move up, move dash up, and a class of button. And I'll go ahead and make my font awesome thing using the image shortcut. Right angle bracket means child selector. So I want an I with the FA class and FA dash something. Let's see, there's probably some arrows in here. Yep, arrow up, FA arrow up. Just going to copy this. Expand, beautiful. Go ahead and put these on multiple lines just for readability. And do the same thing, but down. There they are. Ain't they beautiful? Let's make them do a thing. At this point, build list item is doing an awful lot. A disturbing number of things. How about we make a separate function, separate method in our class called setup actions. And what will it need? It's just going to add them to that LI, right? So it just needs the LI to add them to. It's going to do stuff like this. And let's make sure we call this dot setup actions, passing in the LI before we return it. Okay, so we've got remove, we've got promote. Now let's do move up. Button dot move up. Make a function called move up. And like promote, we'll pass in the student because we know we need to persist this data. We could simplify remove student quite a bit by doing that too, couldn't we? All right. So move up. We'll take the student and the event as arguments. We know the event will be the last argument. So what do we need to do? We've used insert before once, haven't we? So we need to insert it before the one that's above it. How do we get that? Let's find a list item. There we go. Now that's $0. $0 dot. Is there anything like previous element sibling and previous sibling? Look at that. Difference between previous element sibling and previous sibling. Previous sibling could be a text node. Previous element sibling guarantees that it's an element. Now, what's the event target here? It's the button again, right? So we need to use that closest trick that we've used before. Oh, wait. Yeah, there you go. So we also got to get the parent, right? We also got to get the list so we can insert before. So that should be just this dot student list dot insert before. First argument is the thing we're inserting. That's the li. And then where it's to go before, insert previous element sibling. Not going to do it. Refresh. Oh, we got all kinds of problems. Student is not defined. Line 111. I pass student in. Oh, and set up actions. Yeah. Need to pass that in. Refresh. Okay. What if we try to move him up? Whoa. Gosh. Just like that? If I refresh the page, it's probably going to persist, right? Well, of course not. We didn't change the array. You knew that. Yes.
Try moving the top person. I think there's an invisible element.
Oh, man. Yep. We'll deal with that. Let's get this persisting. So we need to change the array. How do we do that? Oh, come on. How do we do that? How did you do it? Yeah. Okay. So we've looped through before. I bet there's an easier way to loop through an array than a for loop. There are several. There's for each. So let's see. Which one of these things? I'll look it up. Array, prototype, for each. We used this a little on the first. Did we use this ever? Okay. So that loops through an array and executes a callback function once for each element. It's a lot like map, except it doesn't return a new array at the end. Now, we can't break out of that like we can the other, though. What else? JavaScript array functions. Join, popping and pushing, blah, blah, blah. Shifting elements. Changing elements. Deleting elements. Splicing. Merging, blah, blah, blah. Slicing an array. Okay, that's not a great reference. Oops, array prototype. Copy within, fill, push, pop, reverse, shift, sort, splice, unshift. Concat includes index of, join last index of, blah, blah, blah. Iteration methods. These seem like the methods we're interested in. Okay. Entries, every, filter, creates a new array with all the elements of this array for which the provided filtering function returns true. Find returns the found value if in the array, if an element in the array satisfies the provided testing function, or undefined if not. No, that sounds interesting. All right, I like it. So, whoops. Our array is this dot students dot find. First argument is a callback function. We will use an arrow function because then this will be maintained. I don't know if we need that or not. And the callback will receive the element being processed in the array. So current student, we'll say. The second one will be the index of the current element, and then the array itself. I don't think we're really going to do anything with that, so I'm not going to bother assigning it to a name. Doesn't matter. JavaScript doesn't enforce the number of arguments. So now it returns the value of the first element in an array that satisfies the provided testing function. So it sounds like this function needs to return true or false. And if it returns true, it's going to stop looking. So we could return current student.id triple equal student.id. It's either going to be true or false. If it's true, it's going to return that thing. Notice there's also find index, which just returns the index, and that's actually all we care about, right? We already have the student. So let's find index. Looks like it works exactly the same. So we'll say const index equals the result of that. Then we need to swap it with the one before it. So we'll say previous student is this.student list index minus 1, right? And then we want to set this student index minus 1 equal to student and this student list index equal to previous student. Sound about right? Now, fat lot of good changing the array does if we don't then save. Let's see. Let's add somebody else. Let's add Rue and Trey. Let's move Akash up the list. There he goes. Refresh the page. He's right back. Boo. Why? Let's look at the array. Mega roster.students. Or it's roster.students now, right? we have Akash here. We have Rue here. I hit up. Roster students. Didn't change. What did we do wrong? Let's put a debugger in here. Refresh. Move him up. What's our index? 2. 0, 1, 2. Right? So the previous student would be the one at position 1, right? Which we would expect to be Rue. Student list is the UL. Students is the array. Refresh. You see the troubleshooting process there. Most of the time when there's an error, it's because some variable doesn't contain the value I think it does at that time. Now let's move him up. Let's refresh. He's still there. Move him to the top. Refresh. Whoa. Terrible things are happening. Oh, now he's completely gone. And we go, oh man. Oh, shucks. So, maybe if index greater than 0, it's at least 1, then we start messing with previous students. And I suppose we could save either way, but probably don't need to, whoops. Probably don't even need to save otherwise. So that prevents us from moving up the first one, at least inside the array. We could also not bother changing the list if that's the case. Refresh. Let's add Rue, Trey, Etre, and Oit. Let's move Trey up. Keep moving him up. Now nothing's happening when I do that. Refresh the page. Everything's still as it should be. That'd be really cool if this button looked disabled, if it's not going to do anything. How you like that? Think that's achievable? Nope, can't do it. Sorry, I was tricking you. No, I wasn't tricking you. All right. So let's see. This is a button.
Can we say not preceded by a sibling?
Well, we did first child, right? Which is essentially the same thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
So now it's not the button, though, that's the first child. It's always going to have that student name, but its student is the first child of its parent. So if the student is the first child, I want to find a button that is descended from it. So I've said several times space means something inside a CSS selector. It means descendant. So this selector says a button with the class of moveUp that is a descendant of a student that is the first child of its parent. So this means child, this means descendant, which means there could be something in between. And there is, the div.actions, right? So a move up button that is the first child of its parent. So if that's the case, let's just change the background color to gray. Let's change the color to a slightly lighter gray. That'll be the color of the icon. And let's set the cursor to not allowed. Okay, we see it turned gray. Now when I hover over it, look at that. Look at that thing. Neat. So now I don't think it's going to do anything. Now, as you might guess, we'll be able to do the same thing on the last child if we make it do that. But now we've done move up, I think you can do move down easily enough. Did we cover it all? Implement move up. What else could we do to improve this? Now that we know about find index and find, remove could have been a lot simpler. We wouldn't need this loop, right? So we could go back and change that. What else could we do? You know something that would be cool? What if I had an edit button and I could change the name of an existing student? How could I possibly do that? What if when you click the edit button, it replaces that student name text node with a form that looks kind of like the other form, and it lets you update an existing one? Sounds hard, but I bet you could do it. Maybe there's an easier way. Maybe there's a much, much easier way too. Enable editing isn't quite the right combination of words, but you are all thinking along the right lines. It'd be nice if we could take this span and make its content editable. I really wish I could make its content editable. Yep, you got homework over the weekend. Sorry, not sorry. Day 4 homework. Make move down work if you haven't already. Allow the editing of student names after they're already in the list. Gee, it would be nice if I could make that spans content editable. What did we say yesterday that the homework would be today? We said something. Was it this? The edit thing? Oh, okay. Gosh, that's boring. Seems like you need some bonus credit. Can you think of any bonus credit? Fine. Super mega bonus credit. Hyper fighting. Have a nice weekend. All right. I know it is. I know it is. Because remember, you got to make the change persist too, right? That's right. If I refresh that page and it's back to the old name, I will be very disappointed.